Derek Overstreet, founder of the New Millennium Group. We're a financial planning firm. We have advisors standing by right now to take your call. 888-999-6370. The reason you're going to want to call is we're going to help you retire 3 to 5 years before you thought possible. The way we do this is by putting together a step-by-step plan. So if you're one of those people listening and you'd like a plan in writing, give us a call at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370, or go to utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Some of the most meaningful jewelry you own isn't new. It's inherited. A ring from a grandmother, a necklace full of memories, but no longer your style. Duke's Jewelers reimagines family heirlooms into custom pieces you'll actually wear and love. Working one-on-one, Duke's designers honor the original story while creating something fresh and modern. Don't let meaningful jewelry sit unused. Let it live on beautifully. Visit Duke's Jewelers in Springville or online at dukesjewelers.com, where old stories become new treasures.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. The Utah Mammoth are in action tonight. They haven't played since they won big Saturday in L.A., 6-2, as they continue to be awesome in the road in the month of March. We'll see what April holds for them. March was pretty weird. We'll get into that with Jay Stevens here in a moment. But here they come down the home stretch, 8 games to go, 5 of them at home, 3 of them on the road. Normally that's the kind of breakdown you'd like, but the way they've been playing in March, they'd rather be on the road, PK. They've been much better on the road. We're joined now by Jay Stevens.
I'd rather be on the ice.
Of the, host of the podcast here covering the Mammoth on the KSL Sports Zone. He joins us on all the shows. Jay, good morning.
Good morning.
Jay, explain it to us like we're 5. Why in the month of March were they 6-2 on the road, and then they come home and they don't just lose, but it's mostly a disaster? For the month of March, I think it ends up being 1-6 at home. What? That doesn't make any sense. That's backwards from everything we know about sports. What's happened?
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It is crazy, and I was thinking the same thing, and I started doing some research, and in the past 20 years, the overall home winning percentage for teams in the NHL is 54%, and then it drops to 52% during the playoffs, and that's over the last 20 years in the NHL. The other thing you have to look at is who Utah was playing at home with, Edmonton and Washington, and teams coming out of the East that are really good. And then you always get into that thing is, all right, do they have distractions at home? Are they not getting the same amount of rest because they have their families and other obligations? They got to mow the lawn and all that other stuff that seems to pop up, when you're at home. So I think those are true factors. It's a really weird thing to see. You would expect your team to always be better at home than they are on the road, but yeah, it wasn't in Utah's favor for the month of March. But the rest of the schedule going forward is in Utah's favor. They play 3 road games and they have 5 home games. So you hope those are the home games where the home ice advantage really kicks in.
How much do you believe in momentum going into the postseason? Because obviously the odds favor that the Mammoth make the postseason. They still got to get it done, but statistically they should. With that in mind, what do you think of momentum that you can gain at the end of the regular season playing well going into the postseason?
I think the momentum plays into it in a couple different ways. Yes, you want a little breathing room between you and the teams that are chasing you. That does help a little bit. But the other part of the momentum is the confidence that each of the players gets, especially, starting from goaltending out. If you've got a nice little winning streak and you feel like you're really starting to get into the groove, and there are times for goalies where they don't even see the puck, but it just hits them when they're playing through screens, and that just lets you know that you're in the right position and that you're doing the right things. And that momentum, that confidence really carries you into the first series where hopefully that's the one you can steal, is that the first round matchup, which right now statistically looks like it could be Anaheim. There's a chance it could be Edmonton. But you start feeling the confidence, you start using that momentum to, work on your power play. That is the one part of this, by the way, that we haven't really mentioned, is that the Utah power play has scored 7 goals in the last 10 games, and they're at about 20% in the last 10 games. They're at 14% over the course of the whole season. So it's all those little things start adding up. The power play starts playing better. The penalty kill is better. Your goaltending is better. Your defense is like clicking together and playing better. And then your forwards obviously start feeding off that and capitalize on those, the offensive chances they get. Because playoff hockey is real shutdown hockey. You're not going to get the same opportunities. So using that momentum, using that confidence building going into the playoffs is huge, especially for a young team like the Mammoth.
Jay Stevens joining us as Utah Mammoth counted down here to the end of the regular season. All of our Utah Mammoth interviews are brought to you by Hercules First Federal Credit Union, growing stronger together. Seems like it was just a couple weeks ago there were 3 teams in the Pacific Division separated by 1 point. You mentioned Anaheim's pulled in front here a little bit. How confident are you that Utah will finish in that first wild card, they will play the Pacific Division champ, and it will be Anaheim? What's the shakiest part of that equation?
Well, the shakiest part of that equation is how these other teams are all of a sudden starting to find that momentum as well. Edmonton is only 2 points out of that first spot. So you've got Anaheim doing well. You've got Edmonton doing well. Last night as we went to bed, Nashville was in that second wild card spot. All of a sudden, the LA Kings leapfrogged them. Now they're in that second playoff spot. They're 4 points behind Utah for the first wild card spot. So Utah really has to win half of their games to stay. I think that's about the magic right there. If they win 4 of the remaining 8 or 5 of the remaining 8, that really puts them in the driver's seat to control their own destiny. And then Anaheim really just needs to figure out. They've lost a couple games here. They lost the other night. So Edmonton and Anaheim, that's going to be a real battle. That's going to go right down probably to the last game to see who actually does clinch the Pacific.
So, Jay, I understand you touched a nerve by saying the Mammoth aren't physical enough, and you got some solutions. Tell us about it.
I did touch a nerve the other night when I said that on my show. I think I actually said it on the radio as well. I called them soft, and I don't mean that in a hugely negative way, but Utah has really leaned on being, they lean on their speed, they lean on their skill, and again, we're going to see in the playoffs how much more physical these games become. And sadly, my fix for it isn't a fix that we're going to see this season, but the Utah Mammoth have drafted some really big kids, and they've got a few kids in the system that they're probably going to make the team next year. And the first one is Cole Baudouin. He was Utah's first round pick right after Tidja Ginla. He's a phenomenal player. He's 6'2", 225. And then they also have a kid named Gabe Smith, who's actually on a line with Caleb Denoyer, our first round pick from last year for the Mammoth. And he's going to end up being a big steal for the Mammoth. He's a 5th round draft pick. He is a 6'4", 225-pound wrecking ball who loves to hit, loves to fight. He's mean when he's on the ice. He's the answer for what happened with Washington with Tom Wilson. So the Utah Mammoth are drafting bigger players, which you expect from Bill Armstrong. He was a bigger player. He was a menace when he was on the ice. So you're going to find Utah start to balance out. They have all the skill and the speed on their top 2 lines, and you're going to see some of these bigger kids coming in the next 2 seasons that are going to fill that physical and that meanness requirement that's needed to go deep in the playoffs.
Yeah, you threw out soft. You had to anticipate. No matter what you meant, you had to anticipate there was going to be some pushback. You had to know that was coming. Now,
yeah.
Soft could mean. Are you talking? So, is it more size, or is it more mindset and mentality, and a willingness to throw your shoulder in there and blow somebody up?
Well, I'm going to have to go with both. I know maybe that's a cheating answer, but you need more size. Utah is one of the smallest teams. I think they average out to about 6'1", 195, and then you look at teams like Florida and Edmonton and Tampa Bay, and they average out more to the 6'2", 6'3", 220 across the whole team. So they're just bigger teams going into the playoffs. And then there's that meanness part to it. And we have some guys that just want to be skilled, and there's nothing wrong with that. You just have to find, those other pieces that go in and can, when you start banging bodies, when you start checking everybody, every play, you see guys finishing checks. It's just like body blows in boxing. The longer you have a guy that finishes checks and makes it hard for Utah to play against, the more space those skill guys and those fast guys are going to have, because the other team just doesn't want to play against you. Right now, Utah is not hard to play against. There's not a lot of finishing their checks. There's a lot of really fun hockey to watch. So, I'm already trying to stop all the emails I'm going to get. They need the size. They need the meanness. Right now what they have is skill and a lot of speed, which is fun to watch. But in the playoffs, you're going to need some meanness and some size. And Utah doesn't really have that right now. I mean, they do have two power forwards. They do have McBain. They do have Lawson Krause. You have Carcone, who will hit and fight anybody. And then you have Yamamoto coming in at 5'6", and he'll hit, or I think he's 5'9", and he'll hit anybody. And I think he'll fight anybody. But other than that, we really just don't have that mean streak in anybody.
And that, I believe, is the point you're making as far as the postseason and the difference between the regular season and the postseason is just in the very things that you've been talking about, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And I interviewed Ian Cole last night, who has to be one of the unsung heroes for the Utah Mammoth for the last 2 years. And I was talking to Ian about, because, he has 2 Stanley Cups. He's gone deep in the playoffs several times. And I was asking him about what it takes. And he says what it takes is us making sure that the other team doesn't have any space. They don't have time. They can't think. We punish them at every opportunity. They have to be defensive-minded and shut everything down in the defensive zone, and basically not allow pucks in the defensive zone. And that there is that worry that maybe you're not punishing anybody. You'll see a lot of times you'll see a defenseman chip the puck from the other team. They'll chip the puck back down into the zone, and the Utah forward will just curl back without finishing the check on that defenseman. That defenseman should be hit every time they touch the puck, and that includes inside our when Utah gets into the offensive zone. You can't let a defenseman just clear the puck without getting hit. Utah forwards have to hit those defensemen every time they touch the puck, and you're just not seeing that right now. But that does become playoff hockey.
Yeah, I can see where your answer about both matters, though, because the willingness to go out there and mix it up and, hey, I'll embrace another half dozen collisions, right? Whatever they look like, whatever body parts colliding, I'm going to get a piece of that guy, whatever it takes. It's easier to embrace that when you're 2 inches taller and 20 pounds heavier. Over the course of a game, that's a little more fun. It's a little more fun to beat up on the little guy than it is I'm going to go pick a fight with Goliath over there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And when you do get those bigger players in, they also kind of embrace that role too. And we did have somebody that was willing to fight, Tom Wilson, and we do have people that are willing to fight, but we don't have people that are going to win all those fights. Even Spicy Tuna, if you put him in the lineup, he's outmatched in a lot of physicality parts, and that's okay. Utah's doing great. They're going to make the playoffs. They've been fun to watch all year. But you do kind of want, you do want to add that spiciness to the roster. You do want to add that big guy that not only is he willing to fight, but he is going to take the fight to that whoever that person is, whether it's Tom Wilson. You're going to see some big boys coming out, especially if Utah makes it to a playoff series with Edmonton. Connor McDavid's a big boy. Draisaitl's a big boy. They've got Nurse on defense. They've got some big boys that Utah needs to contend with. Right now we have players that are willing to fight. We don't want Lawson Krause necessarily fighting. He's a real skill guy. That's the same thing with McBain. You're talking about guys that have got 20 goals and are scoring, and you want that guy that's just going to be a menace. We really want to see eventually a really good fourth line. Your fourth line is usually your big boys, your banging line. You send them out to crunch guys. And right now our fourth line is Kerfoot, Stenlund, and Tanev. I mean, Tanev and Kerfoot, they're not 6 feet. And I think, you add them together, you might get 300 pounds. So our fourth line is not a pounding line. But, Kerfoot is seeing some goals off that fourth line too. So there are some pluses to being fast, but we do need some meanness in this lineup.
So, Jay, we're just a couple of weeks away from them finishing their second season, right? And we've heard this love affair with the team and the fans compared to where they were at the end down in Arizona, and they're so excited to be playing before raucous fans and all. Has anybody spoke to them, or do they understand what it's going to be in the postseason here? Because I think the community will go crazy, particularly with the Jazz not having postseason for a number of years. That building, in terms of sports, has basically been dark once we get to April 15th until the following season. Well, not this year. So I'm expecting whatever they have seen these last almost 2 years will pale in comparison to the enthusiasm of the postseason that we'll see in this town. If it's anything like for a Jazz playoff game, which I suspect it will be, that it will be a lot rowdier. Have the guys been aware of that? Have they been talking about that at all?
Yeah, actually a lot yesterday. When I went into the locker room yesterday just to interview a couple of the players, and we brought, everybody was bringing up playoffs and this road trip and how much it means. And the guys get it, especially the guys that have been in Arizona for the last few years, and like Clayton Keller and Schmaltz. Those guys really get it. They really do appreciate it. That's the cool thing about these NHL players. They came into town and they felt really welcomed. And last year we talked about a little bit, they struggled at home, and it was almost because of that added pressure. And we even said, I said in one of my articles and on one of my shows, and Cole Bagley said it in one of his articles, that the Delta Center felt like this playoff intensity last year. Almost every game, there was so much anticipation, and you kind of felt that in the Delta Center. And, we got made fun of a little bit, but then other teams' media would come in and they'd say the same thing. It's like, yeah, this Delta Center has a different energy. And so the players get it. If they make the playoffs this year, which, again, statistically it looks like they're going to, and if they make the playoffs, that building is going to be unreal. The Utah fans are really absorbing it. You had a really good hockey base here, and then you have all these new fans too, and you've got just this love affair, like you said, with the team, where the Utah fans almost are willing this into existence. They're willing the team into the playoffs, and playoff intensity is just going to be unreal. I think the Delta Center is going to be one of the top 10 places in the NHL with intensity and fan excitement. And because, it is all new, and the fans are going to get that this is the first time they've been in the playoffs, and Arizona hasn't been in the playoffs for 100 years. So for some of these players, they're going to be grateful to be in the playoffs, and the fans have been so amazing. It really caught me off guard, and I've been one of the ones saying that the NHL could work here forever, but the Utah fan base has been way better than I ever could have even anticipated. So it's going to be crazy in the Delta Center.
What is the magic number to clinch that playoff berth? Is it 90? Is it a nice round number, or you got it fixed somewhere else?
It's got to be 92. It's the last few years have proven that last wild card spot, or that even the first wild card spot, it's between 92 and 96 points. And with everything getting as close as it is, I'm going to say Utah really needs 92 points. And I think that's within their shot. I think they can get that. The schedule really does kind of favor them. They play Seattle tonight, which they should win. They play Vancouver on Saturday, which I don't know if you saw. Vancouver beat Colorado 8-6 last night, which blows my mind. So Utah can't go into Vancouver with the easy win mentality. They're going to have to come and actually bring it. Then Edmonton at home, Nashville at home, Carolina. Carolina's going to be a tough battle. So out of the remaining 8 games, I see 3 really tough battles for Utah. But then the rest of the games, as long as they come in with their A game and they play the game like they know they can play, they can get to that 92 points. It would be nice to see them beat Edmonton at home, and it'd be really nice to see them beat Carolina at home. But Carolina's just been playing lights out this season.
Well, Jay, we're getting texts. I can't unsee Dylan Gunther mowing the lawn. So if you accomplished nothing else, you have you've messed with some people mentally for the rest of the day. Good work.
Oh, well, I do what I can. I love to spike up that email chain,
There you go. Thanks, Jay. We appreciate it.
Good day, y'all.
There's Jay Stevens. You can check him out. He's got a podcast on the Mammoth, KSL Sports, and it's available at YouTube as well. And he joins all our shows rotating through all of them. They're all available at YouTube, too. So if you want more hockey content, Jay is providing it for you on a regular basis. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We're talking Final Four with Ken Pomeroy from KenPom.com at the top of the hour. Stay with us.
Mom, can you tell me a story?
Sure. Once upon a time, a mom needed a new car.
Was she brave?
She was tired, mostly. But she went to Carvana.com and found a great car at a great price. No secret treasure map required.
Did she have to fight a dragon?
Nope. She bought it 100% online. From her bed, actually.
Was it scary?
Honey, it was as unscary as car buying could be.
Did the car have a sunroof?
It did, actually.
Okay, good story.
Car buying you'll want to tell stories about. Buy your car today on
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Ken Pomeroy's coming up to talk Final Four at the top of the hour. PK, you put a question up on our Facebook page earlier this week, but there's been so much going on we haven't gotten to it here. Are you rooting for Big 12 member Arizona in the Final Four? And the answers are, well, predictably, it's all over the map. Eldon, ask me when hockey is done. Well, when hockey is done, this won't be a story anymore, Eldon, so that's not a good timeline. Martin, yes, they're the only bracket winner left in the ones I filled out. All of other Martin's choices down the tubes. Melody says, yes, Big 12 at this point, and I do like Arizona's team, but Eric says, no, Illinois. 2 years ago, I moved away from this university. Keaton Wagler's a rising star the Jazz fans should keep an eye on if they don't get a top 3 pick. So, all over the map. Hockey, Arizona, Illinois. Michelle says, oh, blue. Brian's all about Michigan also. Here's the deal. When the leagues were together in what we thought would be forever, but it was at least, 10 or 20 years or whatever, could your league be elevated if somebody in League One? Sure. But when we're looking at something where it's going to get pulled apart in 4 years, are you going to get credit for it in the long run? Will it help you next year or in 2 years? Maybe there's something for it, or does that just make them the more likely candidate to get gobbled up in whatever college sports is about to look like when the powers that be reorganize in 2030? I don't feel like I have the long-term investment in a league that just barely came together and feels like it might get pulled apart again.
Well, how about the short term? Because the more you win, the more money it makes for the conference. And you, as a member of that conference, whoever you might be, receive some financial remuneration. So in terms of money, it puts more money in your pocket. And I don't think anybody is going to go to any conference on the strength of their basketball team. That's nice, but it is 95% football and fit and all this other stuff. Remember when it used to be, there's such an academic fit here, the AAU, the land grants. And I used to say, bleep that. That's a bunch of nonsense. That's what they want you to believe. At least now, through all these changes that we've seen, nobody talks about academics anymore. And they never did. It was just fake. It was phony, right? And they're not going to some school. The Bonsa didn't come to BYU for their fill-in-the-blank program academically. No. And nor should he, right? Because he wanted to have the best basketball situation to prepare him for the NBA. That's what this is about. And they would go and act like you got these academic people, and I swear the athletic people said it just to get them off their backs. And so, yeah, we really care about academics. Oh, it's a fine academic institution. Great. And 90% of the athletes aren't coming there for that. They didn't go to fill in the blank to play school. They went there to play football. So basketball is not going to drive it. But in the short term, it does give you money right now. And why wouldn't you want money right now?
If you had to just spotlight one decision that just screamed, wait a minute, you did that for the sports, not for the academics. And it can't even be debated, and you like to debate everything. You'll play devil's advocate and switch in a minute just for the sheer fun of it. Explain to me why they took Oregon over Stanford. Ha! This doesn't make any sense at all. It's not about the academics. If it lines up and it's a convenient thing to say, and like you said, it gets somebody off your back, you'll say it. But the Big Ten took Oregon. And they didn't take Stanford. Are you kidding me? Nothing against Oregon, but they're not making anybody's top 20 list of schools. and Stanford's 1 or 2 all the time. So show them the money.
Yeah, who cares about that? I don't care about that.
I do think,
never was
you
about that in the beginning anyway.
Yeah, you get the payout for Arizona, and actually Arizona winning 4 games already, so that's already a lot of money, and then, keep putting the money in the coffers. So there is that. I mean, there's that. And then there's just the is it just fun? I mean, if you're just in it for the fun of it all, would it be more fun to have the defending champ? Now, I assume the defending champ is going to send multiple players to the NBA, and, going back-to-back, it's hard to keep a group together. It might be fun to have them coming through town next year as the defending champs. That was another thing that we used to look forward to, but it doesn't really feel like you look forward to that much anymore either, as these teams get pulled apart and put back together like taffy.
Well, yeah, we also don't know if they're actually going to come through town anyway, because we don't necessarily go with the home and home. Some do, but not all, so you don't know how it's going to be. I do agree with the one poster who talked about the kid from Illinois. I've been following him a little bit, read some stuff on him earlier in the season, and it's funny to say these kids are so young, and they're a late bloomer. But in terms of the hype going into the season, he didn't have it. And now watching him develop under Underwood has been something that I've been keeping my eye on, because I think they've got a really solid program, and in order to have a solid program, you have to have good players. The coach can get a lot of credit, and typically does in college, maybe more so in the NBA than the NBA. But nevertheless, no matter who the coach is, he has to have some horses out on that floor to help him win. And that's a player, if you're looking for maybe the Jazz fall back a little bit in the draft, and you're looking for somebody who hasn't even come close to peaking, that might be somebody to keep an eye on, right? Because you don't want to go exclusively on NCAA tournament runs, because we've seen guys really elevate themselves. I think Arizona had a kid, I want to say his name was Williams, and he went second in the draft a few years back because he had a really nice tournament. I think it was over in Anaheim that they played, and the kid did nothing in the NBA and was a very high pick. And that's a recent example, and there's been plenty others, and I know you'll go to the O'Bannon one is one too. But I want somebody maybe who I've been watching, and that's what I have faith in the Jazz people, that they've been watching so many of these kids that it's not going to be based on a couple of games, maybe in the Sweet 16 or in the Final Four. It's going to be a full body of work. Plus, if they're not that highly sought after in the beginning, maybe they have a huge upside and can get really just substantially better. I mean, look at George. What was he, 16th? Undersized maybe, but in his third year has had a breakout season. And to look at him and have the projection going forward into his fourth and fifth and so forth seasons in the NBA, you'll like where that's going. So that's something to keep an eye on as I watch this Final Four, to see this kid from Illinois do his thing, because I think that he could be, to me, he's definitely a lottery pick now, but maybe a later lottery. You never know. I mean, I think most people, at least I was, for what it's worth, was surprised that Charlotte took Knipple playing for them with a fourth pick. And yet, wow, what a rookie season he's had. Now, fortunately for him, he went to he went to a crappy team, and so he's had this opportunity. And they had some wing guys, and then they had Ball, but the position that Knipple played, they didn't really have anybody, so he slides right into that position from day one. And certainly, for just a kid who would be a sophomore in college, we don't really say that anymore, but that's what he would be. He has just blossomed big time, and a large part and a large reason why that franchise has basically flipped itself from being a joke to now, if they could keep it together and guys keep their heads on straight, which is always a big if with younger folks, you never know, or the older folks for that matter. Look at me, my head's not on straight. And going forward, they have something that they can build, and he's playing a significant part. So that's what it's about. So I look at these teams, and I want to see Michigan win it, just so I can see Whittingham there talking about, and I assume he'll go to the Final Four. He'll be in Indianapolis, and I want to see him just all of a sudden with his Michigan gear just rooting like a lifelong maize and blue fan like these guys do. We saw Sarkisian back when Texas was playing, and that had that real close game right at the end right there, and he was getting all fired up, high-fiving people left and right. That's what I want to see Kyle do. I want to see him dressed head to toe in Michigan gear because he's been a lifelong 3-month Michigan fan, and now's the time to show it.
Well, then watch Saturday night. Because they think they're playing the second game Saturday. With spring football, isn't that going to be way easier for a football coach to make than Monday? I think you better watch Saturday. He's still got football.
Oh, I would assume he would be there, right, for both.
I think he'll be there Saturday. But
Yeah, it's spring football. Come on.
that'd be awesome. He's on the sideline. Hey, guys, I want you to go hard today. It's spring football. Come on. I'm getting on a plane. I'm out of here. I don't think so.
It's the Final Four, man. Michigan against Arizona. This is two really good programs. Obviously, they viewed that game to be even more special than the first one. They put it at second. So, yeah, I believe he'll be there, and I believe we'll see him on camera.
I think we'll see him on TV Saturday as well. Monday might surprise me, but Saturday I can see. I think your point about the late bloomers.
Both, man. Come on.
People scoff. People scoff and roll their eyes and late bloomers and all that. But even as young as these guys are becoming very good players, and even though some of these guys are able to step in what would be like their sophomore year of college, like you say, and make a difference in the NBA, they're still developing at wildly different rates. I mean, DeBonce has been on everybody's radar since he was a freshman in the NBA. We were talking yesterday about all the national teams he's been on. It was like 3 summers in a row, and he was their Mr. Basketball in Massachusetts as a freshman. So some of these guys are on top of it. And we just had in the last update with Cody, it's like, yeah, being 18, 19 years old and trying to play with grown men, yeah, you better be, paraphrasing, but basically you better be humble enough to expect a learning curve. You don't want to walk out there thinking, yeah, I'm all that at 18 against guys who've been pros for 5 or 10 years. Good luck with that. So, I mean, they're still young, but there's still a wide variance in how quickly they take off. And there are sleepers.
Oh, that's a fact, and I think a lot of it, like you take a kid like Knipple, since that's who we're talking about. Well, you look at him physically, and for whatever reason, he's matured physically. It doesn't look like he needs to really get a ton stronger. And then you look at somebody like a Cody Williams, and he's a string bean when he comes in the league, and his body type dictates that you must get extremely much stronger, right? And so that's the deal with Cam Boozer as to go into this draft. Boozer has the NBA body today. Now, he can get stronger and all that, and they will, because there'll be some natural evolution that just goes with maturity. And then when you get into that situation where they've got so much available for you and the off season and blah, blah, blah. But I think that goes into it, too, as they project what body size do you have right now? What are your physical dimensions? How much more do you need to improve in those areas? That's what fascinates me about Ace Bailey is what do they want out of him? What are they looking for him going forward physically? Because he's still a young pup, and there's going to be, I don't know if there's 5 guys in the league who have more athletic ability combined with the height and the reach and all that stuff that goes into it than Ace Bailey, right? He's got to be near the top of the list in all those things that you look at for great basketball players. Now, what do they want him to do strength-wise? What are they looking for weight-wise? What have they figured out? What are their training people who specialize in all this stuff? Pablo Mastroianni talking about that, how they have so many different people on their staff that advise them that this player needs to do this, and they track this and that, all this stuff. It's very highly technical, as it should be, because it's at the highest level and there's tons of financial investment. What are they looking for Ace Bailey? That's something that I want to see. I would like to know what their plan is. Majerus used to say to Britton Johnson, he needs to lock himself in the weight room over the summer and throw away the key. You know, he would be emphatic in his just assertion of what these guys need to do. Now you look at Britton, using Britton as an example, and he got stronger and all, but his body size didn't really change that much from freshman to senior year. Well, you take a kid like Van Horn, wow, he added like 50 pounds from his freshman to his senior year, right? He was just massively different by the time he ended compared to the time that he began. Well, what are they looking at Ace Bailey? What are we going to see in 2 to 3 years physically? And how does it affect his game? That's one of the subplots that I want to see develop. And for me, I'm intrigued by it. And if I'm intrigued by something, you've got my interest.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. More on Arizona and the Final Four at the top of the hour with Ken Pomeroy from KenPom.com. Who's he got, Arizona or Michigan? That's coming up. Stay with us.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
The point with Utah State, where do they go now? Do they go with another mercenary coach that's going to be gone in 2 years if you're having any sort of success? Which, by the way, is fine.
Absolutely.
It is fine if that is your jam, which has been successful for Utah State. Like, other schools aren't coming to get your coaches if your teams are not playing well. And if you're a young and up-and-coming coach, you've got to know you can win in Logan. You can go to Logan, and it can be your ticket to a better job.
The business end of it, he has to pay $3.9 million buyout. That's a ton of money for Utah State. Like, that pays for the coach's first year and $2 million in NIL money, which is a lot at Utah State.
Well, hey, Mason Foslev, go buy a house, bro.
Yeah, but honestly, like, it's going to allow you to keep your top player and hire your next coach.
Catch Jake and Ben weekdays from 10 to noon on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Mom, can you tell me a story?
Sure. Once upon a time, a mom needed a new car.
Was she brave?
She was tired, mostly. But she went to Carvana.com and found a great car at a great price. No secret treasure map required.
Did you have to fight a dragon?
Nope, she bought it 100% online. From her bed, actually.
Was it scary?
Honey, it was as unscary as car buying could be.
Did the car have a sunroof?
It did, actually.
Okay, good story.
Car buying you'll want to tell stories about. Buy your car today on
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.
So, PK, did we get to the bottom of it or not? Are you rooting for Arizona just to put some money in the pocket for Utah and BYU? A little sentimentality because Arizona hasn't won a title in 30 years, or for Michigan or Illinois because the Big Ten hasn't won in 25 years? Or UConn, they've won too much.
Well, there's a theory that you don't want the teams in your conference to be better than you, and is that going to evolve to Arizona? Are they going to take it to even a higher level than what they were under Lute Olson? And if that's the case, then they could dominate, and that's going to be 1 or 2 L's for you, maybe in the conference tournament. So you do that, or you can say, well, man, it represents the conference. I think your point being that the conferences are so fragmented now that I don't know that there's that extreme conference loyalty that there used to be. I used to have an internal conflict, for most of my adult life. I'd say from 22 on, I was a diehard Pac-10 fan, obviously with the Sun Devils, and to the extent Arizona. I know you're not supposed to root against them, but I looked at it. I didn't really grow up in the rivalry. It came to me much later in life. And when I got to California and around all the two Pac-12 10 schools, and so then Oregon buys its way to the top, right? And it seems so seedy. Well, Oregon actually was just ahead of its time. They were forerunners to what we have now. So I used to have a conflict. Do I want to see Oregon win? Because then when the playoff came, the Pac-10 hasn't had blah, blah, blah since blah, blah. And I got sick of being dumped on. So I maybe begrudgingly a little bit, I rooted for SC and Oregon, if they ever got there. Washington got there a couple years back. And so I wanted to see that just for the Pac-10 sake. Well, now that obviously blows up, and you got all my teams that I've just been following forever. They're scattered all over the place. My gosh, I got 2 of them in the ACC. What the crap is that? And I think, that's ridiculous. But now I'm rooting them in the Big 12. Well, they're not in the ACC, but they're geographically in the ACC. So what the heck is that? Why? I have nothing for or against or even on my radar for UCF. Absolutely nothing.
I know.
Right? It doesn't make any sense to me. And so I'm supposed to root for that? I mean, that's ridiculous. You can't go any farther away from where I live than UCF. So maybe there just isn't that loyalty anymore because the conferences are scattered all over the place. And now we got Texas Tech. And I don't know if you saw it, Cody Campbell, well, I think he's mad that the Texas Tech Houston Big 12 game is going to be moved to Friday, and he didn't like it. And then Yormark responded with, well, Cody Campbell doesn't run the conference. And Campbell basically said, well, yeah, I do. I mean, he's kind of joking in that way. And so what do we got here conference-wise? What is there? All sorts of tradition and feelings are just gone. So that I'm rooting for Michigan just so literally so I could see Kyle Whittingham there dressed in Michigan gear. To me, that's going to be funny.
I would just tell Cody Campbell, if it's Friday and you're on an over-the-air network, you're going to get seen by so many people. If it's on Big Fox, which has aired a lot of Friday night games, and I think ABC should, and I think they will at some point, I don't know when, that's a big win, and he should embrace it. He's Mr. Embrace the Future. He needs to embrace that. Now, if they're going to end up on FS1 or even ESPN, which pulls better numbers, but that's not that big a platform. So I get if he wants to be a little cranky about that. So tell me where it's going to air. It's over the air. He's really got to cool his jets. That's a big win. Because you can have a chance to get 4 million people watching your game. And the Big 12 games are kind of off to the side over there.
Big deal. He'll pay somebody $4 million to come to Lubbock. That's where it's at.
He will. I actually just saw an NFL mock draft where David Bailey was the number 2 pick. And it's not what I usually see in those mock drafts. That was the highest I've seen him. But Texas Tech, get it done. We'll see where where David Bailey goes.
Right, because they have a great English department, and so he went there to further his interest in English and literature. That's why he went there this past season. Come on, what a joke.
Ken Pomeroy joins us from KenPom.com right after the break. Who's he got, Arizona or Michigan? Who's going to win it all? We'll talk with him next. Stay with us.
Mom, can you tell me a story?
Sure. Once upon a time, a mom needed a new car.
Was she brave?
She was tired, mostly. But she went to Carvana.com and found a great car at a great price. No secret treasure map required.
Did you have to fight a dragon?
Nope. She bought it 100% online. From her bed, actually.
Was it scary?
Honey, it was as unscary as car buying could be.
Did the car have a sunroof?
It did, actually.
Okay, good story.
Car buying you'll want to tell stories about. Buy your car today on
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.